What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and I'm a little late, but better late than never. Especially when there's this involved. Talking about the VRC Formula North America 1999 mod. This is one of those heavily inspired by a real series type mods that'll set you back a few bucks. This one is clearly inspired by the late 90s kart series, perhaps 1999. Visually, I have to say, they've done a fantastic job of blending the cars from that series into one unique car. It neither looks like a Renard or a Swift or a Penske, thank goodness, or a Lola, but instead it looks like everything. And it looks cohesive. It doesn't look like it's just a parts bin special. It looks great, and honestly, big thumbs up. They did a fantastic job here making this look right while at the same time understanding that it's a single car within trying to replicate a series that was a multi-chassis affair at the time. Beyond that, of course, what does it mean besides the way the car looks? Well, it's got 940 listed turbocharged ponies from a V8 that screams up to 15,000 RPMs. You're going to want to shift at about 14.5, otherwise you will blow the thing up. Or alternatively, you turn the damage off and then you turn the boost up and you just drive like an absolute madman because, yeah, that's fun too. This power goes through a lever-operated sequential transmission that you have to manually blip on downshifts. Highly recommended, and it's tremendously challenging. Just a little pro tip for you guys, if you check this mod out, try lengthening third gear a little bit. The gear spacing is a little bit wonky between fourth and third, which makes the downshift between those two gears a little bit clunkier than it needs to be. And of course, as you'd expect, you get the road course car, but you also get the oval car as well, which means that if you find an oval, and they are out there for Assetto Corsa, we'll talk about it a little bit later on, you will be doing speeds of up to and over 250 miles an hour. For you metric folks, that's over 400 kilometers an hour, give or take. Yeah, it's called hauling the mail. Now, naturally, from my hugely biased kart fanboy perspective, this is full-on the best mod for Assetto Corsa, and until Kart Extreme, Kart Factor, Kart Ballista gets ported to Assetto Corsa with all the greatness encased with that mod, this will probably remain my favorite mod for Assetto Corsa. Simple as that. So, short review, highly recommended, multiple thumbs up, thumbs that I don't even have. I am borrowing thumbs from other people around me to give the thumbs up on this mod. So let's go ahead and get into the details a little bit more. We're going to start with the driving, specifically on the road courses. Obviously, the power is the power. This thing hauls the mail down the straights. You can put all the wing on it and it still pulls like a freight train, because when you have this much power, aerodynamics ceases to exist. Now, of course, that can make corner exit a little bit tricky. It's actually not too difficult depending on the way you have the car at the moment. If you're running on the soft tires, it's actually quite easy. The thing just goes. You know, this is not one of those cars that's got a mountain of turbo lag, and you're going to be constantly fighting it, constantly going sideways when you have the soft tires on until they start to wear. The hard tires are still quite predictable. It's definitely not as challenging as this type of car in other mods, which we'll talk about later, the inevitable comparison. But it's one of those things where, yeah, you're going to have to stay on your toes. You're going to have to respect the fact that the car does have this much power, but it's not the thing that defines the car. This is not a one-dimensional affair here. Because the thing that really sticks out as the challenge, in my opinion, is the stopping. For one, I have an issue with the brakes. They're very effective, but at the same time, I just have a very hard time detecting when they're about to lock up, finding the threshold. I feel like I'm just missing an audio cue, but I don't have this issue in certain other mods that are out there, even from like Race Sim Studios, you know, reputable, high-quality stuff out there. So there's that, which is just experience, but then there's also the gearbox. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's sequential, lever-operated, manual blip on downshift. It does have an automatic cut on upshift, but it's really, really finicky, and it is definitely a challenge to use it and to not cause an issue. This is a really strange thing to mention in a video like this, but I really do find this to be an issue. Not as in like, oh hey, it's broken, but it's something that you'll notice, and it's something that is going to define the car, and you're going to have to pay attention to. Honestly, I would say this is one of the most difficult, finicky transmissions in all of sim racing, because as soon as you get it even slightly wrong, you are a goner. The thing is going to spin on you in an instant, either a quarter spin, half spin, but either way, you're done. Which, of course, given the amount of transmission problems that these cars had in the real world, yeah, I guess it's kind of one of the things that's part and parcel of the experience, and it just makes it that much more enjoyable because that's another thing that you have to babysit and take care of and be precise on. Alrighty, so that's going to cover that. We'll have the sounds at the end as I usually do for my reviews, but of course there is the 800-pound gorilla that is the Kart Extreme mod for Automobilista, GameStop Car Extreme, Kart Factor for R Factor, one and the same. You know, what I consider pretty much the greatest mod of all time in sim racing. Fortunately, there is enough room on my hard drive for both, because it should be that way, because they offer two distinctly different experiences, in my opinion. First off, Kart Extreme, Kart Factor, they're clearly superior kart simulations. You know, they have the multiple different chassis type, they have the multiple different tire types, they have the multiple different engine manufacturers. You know, they have the skins and everything, all the drivers and all that. You know, the good stuff, which makes it a much better representation of the series as it was in that case circa 1998. Now that said, I won't really fault VRC too hard here for their mod, because inevitably for sim racing, one combination does end up being superior to the others. You know, in the real world in Kart Factor, you know, it was the case of Renard Honda Firestone was the best combination, and you know, it just was. No secret there. It was just better than everything else, because that's how it is. With one car, that's not really an issue, but at the same time you do lose the fact of having all the different types of combinations represented. In terms of driving, there's obviously two things. One, the transmission, and two, driving this car compared to the Kart Factor mods, you can attack the corners so much more aggressively that it changes everything, as well as the fact that the power delivery, given that Assetto Corsa actually simulates turbocharged engines, just becomes so much more straightforward and easily understandable that it just is entirely, it's different. It's similar in the sense that, like, you're driving a similar performance car, but it feels like a world apart. That's obviously not to say that I hate this or I prefer the Kart Factor mods. Not really going into that here. It's just different. We'll just say that this is a different chassis type, and that's what it is. Now, one area I will definitely strongly favor the VRC mod is the sounds, which you'll hear at the end, because the sounds are 10 billion times better than the sounds in Kart Factor. Alrighty, it's that time. It's time for ovals. So, yeah, don't even bother. Save your time, save your energy. It's not worth it. For one, Assetto Corsa obviously is an absolutely terrible, god-awful platform for oval racing. You know, the whole no standing starts, no cautions, AI that is not good at all. Okay, yeah, ignoring that and setting that aside. I watched GP Labs video of these cars at Michigan, and I decided, hey, I need to try that out, because that looks like something I would put up with the hassle to finally get an enjoyable experience out of Assetto Corsa in that environment. Developed a setup, did some tweaking with the AI and getting the settings dialed in, gave the AI my setup, went through all that, did some more tweaking of the AI settings, eventually got something that was fun enough that I had a smile on my face, because when you're driving a car on an oval at 250 miles an hour in these games with the engine just screaming in your headphones, it's just like, yeah, okay, I'm having a fun time. I did have to jump through an hour and a half worth of hoops to get an enjoyable time, but yeah, I did have a good time. I went ahead and took these cars out to Indianapolis because, of course you would, because the only reason that wasn't a thing is politics, and that's stupid. And yeah, the wheels fell off. I jumped through all the same hoops, I put in the same amount of effort, and could not get the AI to successfully navigate the course in any way, shape, or form that was close to reasonably acceptable. So don't bother. The only way to sum up the oval kit, in my opinion, is it's just a little extra bonus. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. It's kind of telling that they give you a default setup that is absolutely perfectly symmetrical, and they clearly put no effort into actually giving you a reasonable setup for an oval configuration, because you would not run a perfectly symmetrical car. But yeah, Assetto Corsa falls flat on its face in this environment anyways, so it just, yeah, the less is said, the more better. So overall, multiple thumbs up for me. Highly enjoyable mod. It gives me actually a reason to play Assetto Corsa again, which I've been putting up with the issues I have with the platform, and they are numerous, but it's almost kind of sort of worth it because this car is so much fun, and these cars are always this much fun because they are what they are. But as usual with these videos, I'm going to leave a sound clip at the end. I'm going to turn the volume up. Warning, usually I equalize the audio levels in these videos at the end. Not going to do that here because these things deserve to be heard because they are that great sounding, particularly on the ovals where they just scream and scream and scream and scream. It's crazy. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye.